Thanks everybody for coming and appreciate the time. We always wonder how to do these. We used to do dealer meetings in person, but realize that's a huge commitment for folks to travel in and expense and all. So please give us some feedback on whether you like these kinds of meetings or not. Obviously, it takes a lot less time for everybody, and the economics of it are favorable as long as it works. So please let us know if you like it or if you hate it or somewhere in between. But we're gonna try to start with kind of some history today. We're obviously going through some very significant changes as a company here. So most of the day we'll be addressing what's happening and how it's happening and the angles that we're taking on it. I'm going to start with about a dozen slides here of some of our history. Why do we at AgriEnergy
I'm in a meeting here.
Build fertility programs and such like we do? What's our pillars? What do we really stand on? And I'm going to start with some slides that give you some background of what we believe that may be a little different than a lot of companies and how that came to be. There's some significant history. Those of you that have been with us for many years are going to be familiar with a lot of this. So it may just be a refresher, but for some of the folks that have come along in the last few years, they may not be aware of Dave Larson's story, and we're going to share some of that here in about the first dozen slides. So to start off with biological farming, what is it? What's that mean to us? To us, it means working in harmony with nature. It's not necessarily letting our soils operate at nature's pace. Sometimes we want to accelerate that, and we do. We use biostimulants, we use live biologicals, but they're all natural things that are occurring in the soil, but we oftentimes want to speed up that cycling in the soil to make ourselves more sustainable on our farms. So we want to work in harmony with nature, but oftentimes we want to speed it up a little bit. So we want to use products that do no harm or minimal harm. Some of the products we still use are a little salty. Some of them may even be a little alkaline, but it's products that we need to use for one reason or another. We want to use them in moderation and then combine those products with carbons and biologicals, and we can make them relatively harmless and help us to achieve our goals. So we don't want to use products that are really harsh. If we have to use those, yeah, we definitely want to minimize them and buffer them somehow. And that can be done, as said, with carbons and such. We want to stimulate and build soil biological communities. We want to do things to stimulate the bacteria, the fungi, the algae, and the other numerous organisms that are functioning in our soil that help our soils to mineralize residues and nutrients to come available to help build our crop. So we need to keep in mind that we want to have many different kinds of organisms thriving in that soil. We want to manage our base saturation, our cation exchange capacity. Depending on your sand, silt, and clay, what we consider ideal varies, and you don't have to be ideal. It doesn't need to be ideal at all. It just needs to be in the ballpark. And we'll touch on that a little bit. We want to constantly work at maintaining or improving our pore space, our tilth, that coffee ground structure in the soil. We've all been taught for many years that we want around 50% pore space in the soil, those little pockets in the soil that hold air and water. We get kind of bored even talking about that, but that's probably one of the most important things to really be thinking about, how to maintain that pore space. We know we need it. We can kind of see it in the soil, but most of us don't really have enough of it. So we need to constantly be taking shots to help that. How do we do that? Probably with these next bottom two are a big player. We need to manage the residues if we're a good biological farmer. We want that residue to break down. If you've got a lot of corn stalks, you've got a lot of wheat straw, we want that to break down and be gone by the next summer. Early in that summer, if that's gone, those residues have mineralized, we've got nutrients being released. When you see that happen and those residues are gone by the 1st of July or so, normally you'll see some really special soil and you'll see some really special crops growing on that. So that's one of those things that we want to work in harmony with nature, but we want to accelerate it a little bit. We want to speed that up and we see really good things happen. We need to manage carbon. One of your main carbons may well be that residue that we just spoke of, but are you adding manures or composts? Those are important carbons. If you're using them, we need to utilize them better. There's ways to manage that. And we all are dealing with root exudates. That's probably the largest contribution of carbon into our soil is those root exudates coming off as a product of photosynthesis in our crops. That's how we really can build soil, and we can see a difference happen rapidly during the growing season, literally within a few weeks with those root exudates. Can literally change the color of the soil around the roots in the rhizosphere. How did we get here? I want to go through a little bit of the history up to, we'll run this up to where we're at today and explain some of the differences we're headed for. So AgriEnergy's founder, Dave Larson, believed that he caused many decades of soil degradation in less than 5 years. Dave's goal was to balance his soil's cation exchange capacity nearly immediately and provide all the needed nitrogen to achieve maximum yields. Why was this going on? He was striving to maximize yields to reduce his cost per bushel. He bought some land, and this was in the late 70s, early 80s. Land was rising, interest rates were high. He was trying to achieve 300 bushel corn in order to reduce the per unit cost on the farm. So what was his plan? As it was looked at that time, and maybe not a lot different today, but what was the most limiting factors? He came to believe that one of the most important limiting factors was water. So he put irrigation on his farm, on the home farm. It was called muscatine silt loam then. Today it's known as muscatoon, but rich, dark, black soil, good water holding capacity. But it was believed that if he could just get through those dry periods, that would be really significant to increase yields. Need to get his potash up, cation exchange capacity. He needed to get the balance right. He'd been using 200 to 250 pounds for 14 years, which was double the common rate in the county at that time. And after those 14 years, being told he needed more, he went to around 500 pounds, 400 to 600 pounds for 2 years. He was applying 250 to 350 pounds of nitrogen ammonia, and he did get a bump in yield. At a long-term average of 164 on the farm, it went to 200 in his variety plot. The best variety was 226. So a very significant yield bump, but 80+% of the corn was lodged. The corn did not stand. So after doing some more visiting with some other experts, and Dave was no slouch, he had a bachelor's degree and a master's degree in thinking and working and talking to more experts. He said he must balance the CEC. Even after 14 years of these pretty heavy potash applications, the soil test still said he was quite deficient. He's trying to get the 5% base saturation on the potash. So he needed to add 966 pounds per acre. So he did that, put on 300 pounds of DAP, 250 pounds of nitrogen as ammonia, another 100 pounds of nitrogen as liquid nitrogen through the irrigator. So he had a plan, he was working it and going for it. So the results that year in his variety plot that he always put out, as he stated, that nearly all the ears were over his head, and he was a very tall man. So that meant in that variety plot, the ears were 7 foot or more off the ground. Massive roots, 2.5 inches deep. The roots couldn't penetrate the soil. There was a lot of roots, but they were all 2.5 inches and less. Soil was feeling like concrete. Had massive aphid population on his tassels. He talked about when he was harvesting that he had aphids literally piling on his corn head. With an inch of rain, he had ponding over his tile lines. So the soil was so tight, the water was not infiltrating to get down through the soil. And that year he had to harvest the corn around 30% moisture because of severe lodging. Again, the corn did not stand. And if it was that tall, we can only imagine what that was like, especially with the equipment of the day. When he plowed that year, same tractor, same plow, had to go a gear slower. So end result, after 4 years in this program, yield was 169 bushel per acre across the farm, which was only 5 bushel better than when he started. So what did all this mean? And we'll visit just a little bit later here about when we hit forks in the road or stop signs in the road, or if you hit a dead end. Dave was kind of hitting a dead end. He's 4 years into this program, and it obviously wasn't working. So that fall, he traveled with a friend around the Midwest, talking with experts. They hit a lot of them. He hit universities. I recall that he hit John Deere. He hit Herman Warsaw. I've actually seen the file we've all have here of when he spoke to Herman. And if you remember the Warsaw story, he was at Saybrook, Illinois, and in 1975, he grew 338 bushel corn. So Dave knew it could be done. Dave was striving for 300. Here was a farmer hitting 338. By the end of the decade, I think around 79, he was up to 370 on that farm, Herman Warsaw was. But the real aha moment was meeting a veterinarian from Fairmont, Minnesota, Dr. Dan Scow, in his relationship with Dr. Kerry Reams. Learned about the biological theory of ionization. It's science, but it's science from a different perspective. Learned about the soil supposed to be alive. The soil isn't just dirt that you put synthetic chemicals in to hold the plant up. It's supposed to be alive. It needed to be alive. That was a principle that Dave had worked against. He learned about the energy principles to work with the living soils. Dr. Reams and this biological theory of ionization looked at things just a little bit different, and it really changed the focus. If Dave did hit a dead end, which I'd contend he kind of did, he had to back up and go another direction. This is the direction he went. Fortunately for us, because through all of his learning and mistakes, it led to where we are today, and we hope this will be carried forward for a long time. So the three key principles for managing soil that came out of the biological theory of ionization, and these are three pillars that we work with all the time. If you work with any of us at AgriEnergy, this is what we're keeping in mind in order to maximize the healthier soil and the productivity of your crop. So air and water space, that pore space that we were talking about earlier, the tilth. We need tilth in the soil. We need that void. We need those voids out there. We need those little pockets to hold air and water to support aerobic microbes and to hold moisture for us. We need to manage the residue. That residue is a tremendous asset. We need to get it to break down. We want it to break down fairly quickly in most climates. If you're in the deep south, there's an exception. But here towards the north anyway, northern part of the US, we want that residue to break down quickly. And the nutrient application. We need to be careful about what nutrients we're using, what form are they in? Are they alkaline or are they salty? Can we buffer them with carbons? Can we spoon feed them? We need to think about that nutrient application and what's the best way to deal with that. So Dave fixed his soil with those three principles, and we're oversimplifying here today, but those three principles helped him to get it changed. He did a change in management. He started looking at calcium different, changed his tillage system, changed the form of nutrients he was using, switched from ammonia to liquid nitrogen, things that are more buffered, less harmful. Try to add a little bit of calcium each and every year. Don't plow your residue into the anaerobic zone, but keep it close to the surface where it's aerobic so that the residues can break down and cycle those nutrients for the next year's crop. Dave found that biologicals that were on the market at that time made a big difference, but only when he used enough. At the ounces per acre they were recommended, it just didn't make enough difference on his soil. But rather than using ounces, if he used gallons, he saw his soils change. So he knew these kinds of products could make a difference, and he was in the process of learning about the soil supposed to be alive. So it seemed logical that some kinds of these products should work and should make sense. So Dave started with tremendous tilthy, nice muscatine silt loam soil, and destroyed the pore space, compacted it, made it hard due to the excessive nutrients, the over fertilization that he did. But by changing these principles or utilizing these principles, changing his techniques, he was able to restore the tilth to his soil. In that time frame, he developed a relationship with Jerry Carlson from Pro Farmer, and Jerry asked Dave to share his story about what had happened on his farm, how he brought it back, and what he was observing at that time. So he began speaking at many of these Pro Farmer seminars, and then he eventually was asked by some of those attendees, can you help on our farms? Can you give us advice as farmers or consultants in order to spread the word and do this thing because it makes a lot of sense? And in 1990, AgriEnergy Resources was officially founded. 1982, kind of give a timeline of some key happenings. We were trialing various biologicals and biostimulants. Dave started to market fertility products in '88, again, at the request of some of the Pro Farmer attendees that were asking for assistance and help for him at that time. He set up a soil lab in his basement. At that time, he was doing a soil tests that were a little different. The Lamont testing, would that be the correct term? Gary ended up involved in that within a couple years. So they wanted to do soil testing a little different, looking at it as Dr. Reams had for years. By 1990, officially started AgriEnergy Resources as a name and an entity doing business. And by 1990, started to make some of his own bios. Again, that story of ounces per acre might be okay, but at gallons per acre, it can really make a difference. So he wanted to produce biologicals cheap enough so that his customers could afford to use enough to really make a difference and change those soils. 1990, built a new soil lab next to the office in, at that time, what was one of the machine sheds. So set up an office, or set up a soil lab, new soil lab in that building. By 94, set up a microbiology lab, which really set the business on a different path. At one time had 2 microbiologists working with the company, and their work was just huge for figuring out how to develop communities of organisms that work together. 1996, we lost Dave just overnight. Just overnight, we lost him. His wife, Carolyn, her brother ended up buying the business with his family. So Paul owned it after, not too long after Dave's death. So he helped us. He had tremendous business experience. He was CEO of a large company out in Ohio, and then helped us, from the distance. He never came to the company to run it, but gave advice and business acumen to it. So after that, the business did survive and it thrived, and AgriEnergy continues to develop great relationships with many dealers and customers. So what Dave started is carried on, and that kind of gives you some background as to what we do, how we do it, and why we do it. Through Dave's experience, we know you can really mess up soils, but we also know you can fix them. So as we run across customers with issues and problems, there's a pretty good chance there's enough history and experience and knowledge within our company or through our dealer network in order to figure out what to do about it. So jumping ahead, approximately 2015, we're watching for the right partner to increase our growth potential with more research and development. The Ailey family, in discussions with us, had said, we need to watch for the right partner that can really take this thing forward at a larger scale than what he was comfortable doing. So in December of 2018, AgriEnergy is sold to Douglas Products, based out of Liberty, Missouri, and consolidated us in with Growth Products out of New York and GPS Solutions out of Florida. So it put 3 fertilizer biological type companies together. June 2020, Douglas decides to form a buyers group for a customer base because they believed that what they want to do is to manufacture and market the biological products, and they want to market that to big ag. And their belief was that if they're trying to market these biologicals to big ag, and at the same time, our customer base was out there selling to the same customers, the farmers, that was going to be a significant conflict they couldn't overcome. So they wanted to spin out the customer base that AgriEnergy Resources had always worked with, but continue to sell products to them, as a third-party entity. So December 2020, AgriEnergy Solutions is formed. Over a period of a few weeks, maybe a month, to Ken, Gary, Linda, and myself became the initial staff of AgriEnergy Solutions. January 1st, 21, our office opened here. We're just south of downtown, across from the courthouse. By mid-2021, we realized that DPH wants to and will quit supplying fertilizers that our customers depend on. Our blends of conventional and organic products, what we'd always set up and blended there at the plant, we got to find another way to do this. We got to find another source. So we start searching for a facility that can do that. Over about a year and a half, we looked at 19 facilities that we recall. 2 to 3 of them have serious possibilities. Most all of those were going to require a very sizable investment from our company and our group. And we're a member-owned company, so we're looking at having to put together significant capital in order to build these facilities and get them to what they needed to be. It just didn't seem practical to totally start from scratch due to cost. We found some where at least the shells, the buildings, some of the containment was there. It was going to take a bunch. So my next acronym there, TGFP, thank God for patience. Because we didn't force it, we didn't take on one of these and run with them, which could have happened, but it just didn't seem right. In April 23, met Dan Goodman, at least via phone, and then eventually in person down in Early Bird Feed and Fertilizer. And again, the title aside here, slide forks and roadblocks and stop signs. Yeah, we were certainly hitting a stop sign, going to have to go left or right. And we believe we took the right turn. So Early Bird Feed and Fertilizer. Striking thing on the phone and certainly in person was the people. We've been through a culture shock. AgriEnergy Resources was a small company, family owned with a family atmosphere in it. And when we got put into the Douglas family, where they put several companies together, it was extremely corporate, different mindset, different goals, different objectives. The culture was dramatically different. And in visiting with Dan at Early Bird, he'd been through some of those things too. He'd been in Big Ag years ago. He may share some of that. So he knew what we're talking about. The culture fits us at Early Bird. So the facility as it exists has significant conventional fertilizer capability, and they have been marketing some organic products. So we're not starting from scratch at all. Much of the facility is already there. It's going to take a whole lot less money to make this transition in order to get us going again. And I mentioned the people there, when you tour it, visit with them, they're special. They fit what we're talking about, what we do. The culture fits. They have adequate liquid containment to add tanks for unique products. They have many, I don't know how many tanks in containment. And fortunately for us, the way he's going to reconfigure it, he's going to have room to put some of our special products in there in the tank. So that's huge. That's going to greatly reduce the cost of having to move on past Douglas to find a facility. The folks at Early Bird have a desire to expand, especially with organics. Organics is growing in their community as well. Caddy corner from their facility is an organic elevator. I thought that was kind of cool. So it's neat. And again, the people, if I didn't mention that, the people are pretty special. So we're feeling pretty good about that. It's on a great location. It's just off Interstate 74 by, I don't know what, half mile or so, mile at the most. So the location is not bad at all. It's approximately 65 miles south and east, mainly south, but slightly east of where we're at here in Princeton. So it's a good location. It fits. The facility is mostly there, and the people. We know that in this kind of business, it's all about the people. That's what it needs to be, customer service and taking care of each other. And that's where we're at. We have purchased some products from Early Bird. They had a registered Chilean nitrate product they've worked with forever. We used some of their molasses product this fall. So it did work out that we could already use some products from them, which was kind of fun to do as we went through this summer and fall. They've done 2 runs of a water-soluble product we call Resicycle. If you're familiar with what we called Residues Complete, we could not get that from Douglas this fall. And Dan and his team had a small blender. They could do that for us, and they did it quickly and did it very, very well. They were very, very observant in how it was mixing, and yeah, they overcame some issues right off the bat. So we're really happy about how that all worked out. So we are looking forward to next year, to 2024. We think we made the right turns. We've taken the correct fork in the road. We're excited about what's ahead of us at this point. Okay, next up, we're going to have Dan Goodman from Early Bird. He's going to have a slide set here. Gary's going to transfer control to him, and he's going to share. So again, we're excited to have met these folks. the attitude, the staff, the people, the willingness to work with us and the desire to take care of customers is just exceptional. So we're going to hear from Dan, and I'm going to share some information about Early Bird.
So Dan, you should be able to select the share screen and switch it over to you.
Okay. Dean, thanks for the kind words. Really appreciate that.
You're very welcome.
How's that look? Is my PowerPoint up there?
I gotta click it here.
Okay.
There you are. Now you're up.
Excellent. Well, again, thanks for the kind words. My name's Dan Goodeman. I'm the president of Early Bird Feed and Fertilizer in Goodfield, Illinois. Our headquarters are in Goodfield, Illinois. And in these few slides, I just want to give you a little bit of an overview of our company, introduce you to who we are, what we do, and just hopefully answer some questions that you might have on where we are, who we are, how we're going to make this all happen. So we've got a plan in place, and we're looking forward to it. So my father started the business over 50 years ago. I just kind of want to start with our core beliefs and values, and that's faith, family, integrity, service, and excellence. And really, I put faith at the top. It's really important to us as a family and as a business, and we want our employees to also see that too, and our customers. Also have allowed us to place that at the very top of our core beliefs and values, and we're just really blessed and thankful that our employees and our customers and our family, we've been able to put that at the top. And next comes family. We look at each and every employee and customer almost as family. I mean, we want them to have the same opportunities and experiences that we do with our family, whether that be time management, whether that be prioritization, whether that's just in a seasonal business, we have to plow the field when the field's ready to plow. We have to apply the fertilizer when the fields are ready. But we also have to remember that our family comes first. And so we wanted to reflect that in our core beliefs and values. Integrity is so important. A farmer doesn't know what's coming out of the back of that sprayer or spreader. There's no way to tell by standing at the edge of the field. It could be anything. They have to trust you. And that's really what the fertilizer and ag chemical business is about, is trust. That they trust that exactly what that order calls for is what's being put on the ground. And service and excellence, we have to have those things in order to be successful. I'll just give you a quick overview of what Early Bird is. We're two divisions. We have a feed division we call Early Bird Nutrition, and then of course the agronomy division that you guys will be working most with. So I wanted to kind of just share that we have those two divisions. A little bit about me. Again, my father started the business over 50 years ago, so I was raised in it. I think I was filling anhydrous ammonia tanks long before I was supposed to be filling anhydrous ammonia tanks. I know it was before I could drive, but that my summers were spent at the dealership working. He needed help checking bills. He had so I'm not as mechanically inclined as I should be, but I can check a good analysis and make sure that the bill is right. That's one thing I got really good at a young age. When he started the business, I think this is what the typical row crop sprayer looked like, an old Han sprayer with a chain drive wheel, and it kind of exposed to the elements, I think. And his first spreader truck looked something like that. So when I started at age 16, started spraying for us, I had an old John Deere 6000. That was my first spray machine when I entered the business at the young age of 16, and sent me out to spray fields. I went to the University of Illinois and studied agriculture there, graduated in 3.5 years, and went to work for SIBA, at the time a multinational Swiss company that had a pharmaceutical division. We sold everything from Gerber baby food, X-Lax, milk and magnesia, and atrazine herbicide. Those were all under the same company umbrella at the time. I went to Northeast Nebraska, and for the first time understood that other parts of the world needed irrigation in order to grow crops. Went through the SEBA and Sandoz merger that came out as Novartis. Went to Idaho with Novartis as a product development specialist. So worked the Pacific Northwest and I was kind of a liaison between research and development and sales. So trying to take what research and development was working on, new labels, new products, and incorporate that so that the sales team could sell it. So that was a great experience out in the Pacific Northwest. Came back and was a district manager in Kentucky, a little bit of Tennessee, Southern Illinois, Southern Indiana. Went through the Novartis Zeneca merger and came out as Syngenta, and so have definitely been through the corporate ringer, I guess. I don't know, the mergers and acquisitions. I got a front row seat and got to participate in a lot of those as we went from SEBA to Novartis. We acquired Merck's products out in ag products out in Pacific Northwest when I was with Novartis, and what we know today is Syngenta. We had our first child, and my wife and I decided that probably the corporate moving around the country was not the best way to raise our family, and so we were blessed that we were able to come back to the family-owned business. And this is what the sprayers looked like when I came back. So a lot of changes had been made, but luckily I'd been present with a lot of dealers throughout the northern part of the U.S. that I could stay in touch with how the dealership had changed over time. Dean talked a little bit about where we are, but we're right between Peoria and Bloomington, Illinois. So right there in the middle central part of Illinois, right on Interstate 74, pretty close to Interstate 39 and Interstate 80 there, 72 running across. So we're in a really good spot as far as truck traffic goes, luckily. We're just a regular old fertilizer and feed dealership. This is our main office here in Goodfield as you walk in, and we've just kind of grown over the years. We're on 7 acres here, and we're running out of space, but we just kind of put buildings on top of buildings and lean-tos on the side and just try to find a way to make it happen. If you look here, we do have Dean talks about it. We have a substantial liquid storage, whether it be UAN solution or other products, and it continues to grow, and we continue to add liquid storage throughout the years. So we'll talk a little bit about what tanks we're going to use for agri-energy and how we're going to make that work. But just to give you a little view of what it looks like from the air at our facility here. I'll give you a little drone shot here of our feed mill as we go through here. We've expanded this over the years since this has been taken. We have some dry fertilizer storage, but everything in that dry shed actually gets turned into a liquid. So we're a liquid suspension plant. We'll talk about that a little bit. Of course, we store bulk UAN solution. One thing you won't see as you look around here are a lot of ammonia tanks. We don't really believe in the agronomics of applying a large amount of ammonia direct to the farm. There's that organic elevator in its initial stages at this time. And throughout the years, we've added some more UAN storage. And we do have an ammonia tank on the lot there, but it's for reaction in our mixer, not necessarily for direct application. So just want to give you a bird's eye view of our facility there in Goodfield, Illinois. The feed mill on the right there and the fertilizer on the left. Real quick, just so you know, our nutrition division, we're really proud of it. We've got some excellent people. It really comes down to the people like Dean was talking about. We have got some excellent people on our feed side. We've got some feed mills and locations across Illinois and one in Missouri, but it really comes down to the people on the right-hand side here that are passionate about livestock, that want to help their farmers, that want to specialize and solve problems on each and every livestock farm that they walk onto, listen to the customer, ask questions, and then develop a feed or supply a product that's going to solve their unique problems. And with that, if you're going to empower your salespeople to solve problems on the farm, they can't just sell one product because there's no one size fits all. We all know that. So we got our own brand of feed, but these are all the brands that we handle because we want our salespeople to be able to solve problems, like I said, and we don't want them to feel like they have to push a product if it doesn't fit. So we give them a lot of options, and that's one of the benefits with early bird feed is that we can build you a pallet that has 2 bags of Rival, a bag of Show Right, 3 bags of Early Bird, some Sunglow, some Linder, some Umbargers, and it all gets shrink wrapped and shipped LTL right to that customer with all those different products: Prina, Kent, Hubbard, some of the big names. So our niche in the feed industry is really the show industry, and we can make feeds that will help. Whether it's the Illinois State Fair you see here, or the Grand Champion at the Ohio State Fair, the Iowa State Fair, the Missouri State Fair. We were in the winner's circle an awful lot this summer, and that's just due to the hard work of our people and finding the right customers, supplying them with the right product, and you get great results. So that's really the niche that we've built for ourselves. We solve a lot of problems, and it's not always in the most technologically advanced way. There's ways to solve problem, whether it's putting molasses on feed, or manufacturing suspension fertilizers, or manufacturing liquid lime, or spreading alfalfa seed with mixed with liquid lime in order to seed alfalfa. We've got a lot of innovative ways to solve problems that don't necessarily take the most elaborate computer controlled aspects of the business. So this application of molasses on feed is something that's really challenging in the feed industry, but we've kind of come up with a pretty simple solution that we think works really good. We do have, I just want to run real quickly where we're located from a feed mill standpoint. So if you look at where we're here over in Goodfield on the very right side of your screen, we do have a location in Roseville. It's just straight west of us, about an hour and a half straight west of us. Gracie Myers is the manager there, and Grant and Robin are our salespeople. Really simple, kind of a small feed mill, but again, we're highly specialized in what we make. We kind of replicated that down in Springfield, Illinois, or just west of Springfield, a town called Chapin, just west of Jacksonville. We've got a feed mill. Looks very similar. It's set up about the same. Scott Robertson's our manager down there, and Cody Haddon does a great job selling in that Chapin feed mill. We added a pellet mill, something that we didn't have. That's south of Springfield in Farmersville. We have a small pellet mill where we make pellets. Dave Howard runs that down there. Up in La Salle, Peru area, really Utica, we've got a what is going to be a warehouse up there for our salesman Chad Crane and our Mark Toller manager. We acquired a feed business from Northern Partners Cooperative up there, so we're going to be right on Interstate 80 and 39, a great spot. So our feed division is growing. We sell feed in about 27 states. A lot of it's LTL, shipped direct to the customer, and we're really blessed to have that business that's grown for us. So real quick, I want to talk about our agronomy division. That's what you guys are here for, and hopefully we can fill a niche for you guys and provide a service. But we're really broke down into fertilizer, crop protection, seed, and aerial are kind of our divisions. And I'm going to go real quick. I think this is why I think this relationship with AgriEnergy is going to work so well, because of some of the core beliefs and some of the things that we talk about to our customers, I think match up really well with what Dean went over there and some of the beliefs of how we grow a successful crop for our customers. And we're not your typical fertilizer dealer where we think that, squirting on anhydrous and broadcast applying DAP and potash is the way to make the best use of the nutrients. We think there's better, more efficient ways to grow a crop. So we don't broadcast much phosphorus and potassium. We really like to band phosphorus and potassium. We just think it's very inefficient to broadcast those two nutrients in our particular soils here in Central Illinois. So we use suspension fertilizer in order to do that. I know people have tried to ban dry fertilizer, and it might work, but for us, it's just in order to cover the acres that we have to cover, we think taking a dry, making it into a liquid suspension, and then band applying that liquid suspension is the best way to get pounds of nutrients efficiently banded. So I think it's pretty cool when you drive past a field that we've spread or dribbled. We call it dribbled. It almost looks like somebody's ran a toolbar through it. You can see those streaks of fertilizer that we've laid down and created that band of a very economical phosphorus, potassium, nitrogen, and sulfur suspension. We really think that band resides in the soil to feed that crop and help with really efficient uptake of those nutrients. But we do think that in order for the plant to get to that big band that we've put out there with we do need some type of a starter fertilizer in order to kind of start the plant off and then hand it off to that other band that we've applied in the soil. So a lot of our customers, many high percentage of our customers have a starter setup, which is not common throughout the rest of central Illinois, but we've sold them on the benefits of having that small amount of NPK and sulfur and micronutrients in that starter to hand it off to the next band, the more economical band that we've put out there with suspension fertilizer. You know, this all happened because my father just was not happy with how dry fertilizer was spread. And if you really look at the technology, it hasn't changed much. We still use dry fertilizer spreaders to spread lime. You know, it's a great tool, but we think it's an absolutely poor choice for evenly spreading phosphorus and potassium. The story goes that, you know, my father loaded a buggy, a guy was top dressing wheat, and he put the urea, he put the potash, he put the DAP, he put the ammonium sulfate, he ran it through the blender, he delivered the buggy himself. All of that he did himself, and he did it according to what was supposed to happen. The buggy broke down, tire failed. He had to bring another buggy out and scoop it across from one buggy to the other. And as he was scooping that, he was digging through layers of urea, and then ammonium sulfate, and then DAP, and then potash, and then urea, and then he just thought to himself, there's no way this is going to be right, and it's just impossible to blend product. It's just physics. It's impossible to blend products with different densities, keep those in a uniform blend, and then throw them at the and expect things of different mass to land together when you throw them. You're just fighting physics. So we thought there had to be a better way. It's not as easy. It's a lot of work. Suspensions are hard to work with, but we think our customers get more value out of every pound of nutrient that they apply by applying it in a band, and it's more uniform in a liquid suspension form. You know, like you guys, and you guys are way ahead of us on this, but we are kind of unique as far as a traditional fertilizer and ag chemical dealer, that we really talk about the microbial portion of this whole equation. We think that soil livestock are really, really important. We think that managing, if you can get 3,000 pounds of bacteria and 3,000 pounds of Actinomyces and 5,000 pounds of fungi and 200 pounds of protozoa, if you can get all of that livestock to grow in your soil, that's way more impactful probably than anything we can do from a standpoint of at the addition of pounds of other nutrients. But we really believe that in order to grow all those soil livestock, you got to have a near neutral pH, and you got to have adequate supplies of inorganic nutrients that are present in our commercial fertilizers. And of course, the pore space is really important, and Dean hit on that. And so it's something we talked about a lot. We need help as far as products and some are there products, are there methods, are there things that we can recommend to our customers to do even a better job of raising these soil livestock. And a lot of fertilizer dealers don't talk about it because they don't make much money on it, but lime is just really important to us in this area. We don't think 6.5 is good enough. We think 6.8 is the ideal number. We don't think every 4 years is a great idea, because you're applying just mountains of lime every 4 years, and we think that your soil pH kind of looks like this graph where you're kind of farming and outside of the ideal range. We like to apply lime every 2 years. We like to apply it in small amounts. We understand that it's very, very insoluble and has to be incorporated, and for us to create a deep soil that's the right pH to grow exceptional crops. So we're a little different and from that standpoint too than your traditional fertilizer and ag chem dealer. So we're looking forward to this relationship. We know there's some work to be done here. We've got to get the facility up to snuff. But what we're looking at here are this area of our dike, and hopefully my cursor is showing up here. But these 6 tanks are the tanks that are in the to the right of the fertilizer dike here. Those have been cleaned out. They are from a brewery a long time ago in Peoria that shut down, so they're fiberglass lined. We've cut a hole in them. We've removed all the sediment or anything. We've cleaned those out. So we feel like they're cleaned in a way that we could go organic or conventional. We're going to sit those 6 tanks up in our dike, which is going to create a whole new area for additional tanks of various sizes. Yep. Another view here of what we're doing. We're talking about these 6 30,000 gallon tanks right here that are going to be set up just as these are right here. That's going to create the agri-energy area of our dike with a proposed load bay right here on the backside dedicated to loading agri-energy semis. So one last spot just of interest is we do have a fertilizer plant in Southwest Missouri. Jerry Steiger is our manager down there. It's a more traditional fertilizer plant with dry fertilizer and buggies. We don't have them converted to suspension liquids yet, but maybe in the near future. But we do have that location in Southwest Missouri, Jerry Steiger, our other fertilizer location on our agronomy side. So quick overview of Early Bird. We're really excited to partner with Agri-Energy Solutions. We think we can provide you the service that you need to get the products that you want out to your customers. I appreciate it.
If there's any immediate questions, we can you can unmute yourself and then ask Dan for just a couple minutes, then we'll move it to our next part.
Right, I should be live. Next up, we're going to bring on the BioGrow folks. It's obvious to us that we need to partner up with some other companies that obviously have good products, but also have research and development ability. And these folks at BioGrow, came to know Peter Ullman a little bit many years ago, probably 15 plus years ago. They've had a great reputation. They have a great reputation. They do a lot of neat things. If you hit their website and hear Peter's story, it's almost identical to the Dave Larson story, where he worked with humic acids for many years and came to learn that if he could use more for the sake of his customers, it was better. So we're going to work with them on some products this coming year. We worked with them on some this last year, and I believe they're going to have their scientist, Dr. Meir, speak to us about the Premium 21 and some of their philosophy and the way they approach crops. If we can get his presentation up.
So, yeah, Dr. Meir, and then also Peter and Bruce, who are on from BioGrow. I unmuted you guys, so any of you can talk. And then Dr. Meir, you'll need to ask to share your screen. And hopefully we can do this.
Good morning. Thanks. I feel pretty honored being on this meeting, I'll tell you that, with a lot of people that think a lot like us and just I really look forward to this relationship. While they're figuring out the IT here and getting the screen share going, I'd like to introduce a little bit of myself and BioGrow. I actually started in Canada as I worked on I grew up on a feedlot and got into the fertilizer business and had many of the same experiences that you just, both laid out. So I think we come from very similar backgrounds. In 1988, I got the privilege, I call it a blessing, to be able to immigrate to the US. We ended up in Washington State. Many years later, we have a facility in Mabton, Washington, where we manufacture humic acids, do fermentation, and we focus on nutrition. I can't even talk to a grower or think straight without seeing a soil test and asking him a lot of questions about fertilizer that he uses. So, again, we're just, really got a lot of the same philosophies. I think it's 1996, our family bought a stockpile of, raw material up in Canada. And that's the base used for humic acid. But I had spent a lot of time in the university library in Pullman, Washington, digging up humic acid papers, understanding the science. And I quickly learned, that humic acids are an important part of soil fertility. They're an important tool, getting the right ones, producing it the right way, getting it on the soil in the right way are all very critical parts. But I also noticed, that you have to address the microbiology, the amino acids, the carbohydrates, and, everything that goes with it. And I think, I'm going to turn this over to Mir. I know that Mir's a very humble man and he's not going to introduce himself like I can. But I've known Mir for 35 years now, University of Idaho, an amazing man. We're so blessed to have him on our team. You'll not, get to know a better humic or a more grounded, agronomist scientist than Mir is. So I'm going to turn this over to him, but I do want to, start it off with a comment that Dean made about root exudes. And I would be willing to share the information, but I think that Premium 21, if you look at, obviously it has humic acid, but it also has a bunch of sugars and carbohydrates and vitamins. And it was interesting, as I started to study photosynthesis and root exudes, I came across a book called The Rhizosphere, and it has a list of root exudes. And, corn, being a C4 plant, produces more volume of root exudes per acre than we even know. It's calculated at 6,000 to 8,000 pounds an acre. And if you analyze the biological substances found in those root exudes, you'll soon find that, that's a lot along the lines that we formulate our Premium 21 with. To me, if I'm a manufacturer, I ferment and we do reactions and I do chemistry, and I'm always at awe, with nature and God's creation and a corn seed. And I tell people, to me, a corn seed's this computer chip. You put this little chip in your ground. And if I had to build a factory that could produce all the biosubstances that a corn plant produces and just exudes from its roots, it would cost you billions of dollars. And I think that's the exciting part about science and our industry, to harness, the root exudes to produce, valuable biological and soil building compounds from these exudes. And, obviously fertility and soil testing and pH and everything, plays a role in it. we're not the whole answer, but be glad to be a part of your guys' team. So if you're ready, I'll turn it over to Mir.
You? Gary, are you ready there? Hello?
Yes, go ahead, Dr. Mayer, if you can share your screen. Oh, now we can't hear him. Look.
Hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes,
No?
we can hear you.
Could I send you my talk? I have a Mac. It is kind of acting. I thought save a time. Can you share my talk from there? Did you get my talk?
I'll have to look at my
Yeah, I did yesterday. But if not, I can
yesterday.
I can try by the time you do that, but then
Okay,
and
yeah, I got it
I
here.
send you and Dean both. Yeah, I think it will save time. I have this
Yeah,
Mac.
I've got it here.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Hang on 1 second. Oh, I got to figure out how to go back to sharing my screen. Oop. 1 second here, we'll get this.
Yeah, since you're working that, maybe we can save some time where, I'm very time sensitive. I really enjoy Dean's outline about biological farming. It excited me so much, and I don't know if I'm going to speak English, Persian, or what, because those are my exciting topics: organic carbon, residue, and biology of soil, root exudates. Those are so important. I mean, over 4 decades, I all the time preach those. I appreciate Dean for outlining those, and I'm so excited, especially Ken, when he was talking about Lyme application. Great that I've done actually some work on that, Ken. You're right on the spot. What you're doing there, this is great. This is going to be great cooperation, great working, and hopefully collectively we can get lots of data. And overall, I just want to say, when I was in university, I knew about BioGrow. If I just summarize, I can say Peter's 3 decades of science, applied science, is delivering today's regenerative ag return. And that's the fact, because he really understood how we connect rhizosphere to the plant canopy, how we ignite metabolic soil plant metabolism in the root system by growing the good, healthy roots, having good root plasticity, and all the hormone, enzyme, microbial exudates, and everything. When we connect that to the canopy, which is the engine, it is not the one doing more metabolic activity of getting CO2 and water and sunshine, creating this root exudates. And I think that's very exciting for me, is to go there.
We almost got it.
Okay. Did you put? Okay.
Hey, does everybody see it now?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so you'll just need to tell us when to advance the slide.
I will appreciate it. I'm trying. So Gary, how much time I do have?
Then we figured a half an hour or so.
Okay, appreciate it. Well, again, as I mentioned, I appreciate Dean for outlining those. I'm going to briefly talk about, Dean asked me to talk about dynamics of BioGrow product. So my title is Physiochemical and Biological Dynamics of Premium 21. There are lots of things I'm going to show there. I'm quite sure you do know that, but I'm going to give some outline, as Dean mentioned, why we think that BioGrow products are unique. Next slide, please. We call it BioGrow system approach to nutrient use efficiencies. As I already mentioned this, and in my belief, I say that everywhere, Peter had 3 decades of applied science delivering to the regenerative ag. What he had from the beginning, you enhance the root health, activate photosynthesis, translocate the nutrient. That's really a intelligence of physical, chemical, and biological signature and intelligence of the soil. And I have done lots of research. When I was actually at the university, I did lots of work that other people brought for BioGrow product. It already excited me. So next slide, please. In order to put the perspective, this is very important, and I think Dean was talking to you. I initiated this research, lack of humic substances, mean functional carbon in US field. I did that with Northeastern University. We got 700 conventional farm and 48 state. I got Pacific Northwest samples. We sent to laboratory there. We did analyze for functional carbon, not organic matter. As you know, you can have organic matter, but it is not mineralizing. If you don't have active fungi, bacteria, protozoa, actinomycete, it's not creating functional carbon. The result was they were little or no functional carbons. So keep that in mind, why I will relate that our Premium 6, Premium 21 can enhance that metabolic activity of soil and root system and plant and create more root exudates that as a result, that actually we are harvesting more from biological engine of the plant that God created. Next one, please. Next slide. I want to then talk about that. I don't know, you can see on the side. This was from Dr. Chaco. He worked 40 years on biochemistry of the functional carbon. He says not only functional carbons are biological potential that make them an analog of ATP. If you remember from your basic soil, adenosine triphosphate, he proves that if humic is made right, it's an energy of plant. It activates metabolic activity. And it activates shikemic acid pathway. It activates carbon network. So keep that in mind. I will talk when we talk ATP, how Premium 6 and especially Premium 21 activate this and we get more nutrient use efficiency. Next one, please. Next one. These are functional carbons, and I don't want to go in detail. I was co-chair of International Humic. We worked on carbon-13 NMR, but the more we are seeing, and the more carboxyl and phenol we have, the more functionality we see that. My doing a little bit of work with infrared spectroscopy or carbon-13 NMR with our BioGrow product, I am finding not only we have a great amount of phenol. I really think beside the humic there, Peter's innovative idea how he created this root exudates that created more phenolic acid or phenol for us. So as a result, it is enhancing the chelation, complexation, and buffering capacity of the soil and activate the metabolic activities. And so you have these all. Again, if we have these, we increase, Dean talked about the cation exchange capacity. Some cases I measured from 180 to 1000 with the fulvic, and buffering, chelation, and complexation. That's what we want to enhance soil health and quality. Next one, please. This is the one thing I work with I did research for almost 29 different companies. One thing unique thing about innovative idea of BioGrow product that you can see, when we are making that, we create that thermophilic. Many of these guys use high heat. We go thermophilic, mean the way nature intended. Like you make a compost, you go mesophilic and thermophilic. Thermophilic is from probably 120 to 145. If you look at those, I don't know what I'm showing here, you see in the molecule, their filament and their spheroid. They're like a rod and round. They create electrophoretic mobility or actual valence energy. When you make, that's the name of the game. Then we watch that. When we do that, you see if you put our Premium 21, any of other product, we get what we call on the far right, you see, it's called polydispersion. It's a columnar, the best system of humic that can be. It comes gravitationally. You can see it goes actually hydroscopic. It enhances actually how nutrient get translocated, mean mass flow. It enhances root interception and enhance diffusion. That's how your nutrient get translocated, especially in PK. I can actually talk half a day about this. But this is the uniqueness of the Premium 21 and some of the other our humic that Peter figured out. He may not say, but I did some research, again, doing IR spectroscopy and other thing, and some lab work, finding this uniqueness about this product. As a result, it can chelate, complex, and buffer at the same time, enhance that root exudates, enhance microbial population, that we get actually microbial exudates and root exudates. That's like an engine. When we put our product, it ignite that engine. Next one, please. Some of the work I did, I can say really BioGrow has the fusion of chemistry and biology for regenerative ag. He has been doing, I gave a talk in Future Ag about this. We got lots of people excited. And he has been doing for a long time because he identified the main principles of nature's intelligence, physical, chemical, and biological. And that's how, if you look at any information he has, again, I said root growth, nutrient translocation, and photosynthesis, and root exudates, that Dean very well outlined that. Next one. So this amino acid, lots of people can have amino acid. I did lots of research. Amino acid that works when you have with humic, it is so important that when we do infrared spectroscopy, analyze those functional group, what we call a continuum. With BioGrow product, look, you have a humic, like we analyze carboxyl phenol, it gives you a chemical shift. Here, with the applying the amino acid, it's not like a one thing. I am quite sure Peter can highlight that. There are lots of plant extract go there. They're actually precursors to many, many biomarkers. And then we see the continuum. What does that mean? Mean that chemical shift is going to continue more on carboxyl phenol. As a result, when you do that, then you ignite root, you ignite actually auxin, cytocinin, gibberellin, and they ignite actual other metabolic activity. As a result, we see a better performance from standpoint of production, quality, and yield. And again, what I am doing, I am finding the BioGrow has had science of bioactive isolation, separation, and purification technology. This is a very unique biosignature, really, that what I have seen, I know lots of. Another thing, he has it. If you look at even Premium 6, Premium 21, the pH is still low. That means it has natural biosignature. That's what they call organic acid. The plant have carbon network. When you have a natural organic form in an acidic form, you know, when we make a humic, nothing wrong, but we put KOH, bring the pH up. Premium 6, Premium 21 that have natural physical, chemical, and biological biosignatures, which is very unique. Next one, please. Dean talked about that. Please push one more time, and then I can summarize. Dean mentioned about when we look at actually a pound of soil, it's a mineral, macronutrient, macronutrient, and Dean mentioned about porosity. Push one more, please. These are, one more, these are the porosities, air and water. I used to give every year about 16 talk to 1,600 agronomists, farmer, ranchers. I all the time ask, as a farmer, do you want to enhance your micropores or macropores? Almost 90% say macropores. No, that's micropores. When you apply organic acid or humic substances, they're nanoparticles. They enhance your micropores. As a result, roots, water, and nutrient reside in micropores. Then when you have a micropores, the distance is close. Then you have a good functional humic. As I said, then your mass flow, root interception, and diffusion is high. So keep that in mind. When we apply our Premium 21 there, what happens when you apply soil particle size, if you remember from basic soil 101, it's 0.002 millimeter. Humic particle size are nanometer. Put in perspective, 1 centimeter is 10 million nanometers. So if you want to marry 1 pound or even 1 gram of your soil with 1 gram of organic acid, good humic, I'll show what happens. Next slide, please. One more. Okay, Dean talked about it a little indirectly. This is what I call a reality check. Anything we do, grow wheat, barley, triticale, apple, pear, corn, banana, if you bring in the lab when you're going to sell that product, if I analyze it, about 96.6% of that is carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, despite whatever fertilizer you put there. This is scientific fact, okay? That's the engine. Mean canopy is your engine. How does that happen? CO2 in the air, sunshine, and water. What BioGrow has been doing, impacting for over 3 decades, we're saying, let's at the beginning, when plants are growing, make rhizosphere healthy. When you make that healthy, when you activate that metabolic activity, you connect rhizosphere to main engine, which is canopy, which is making 96% of what you're going to grow. What happened as a result? Then you get more root exudates, you get more biological microbial exudates, then you have more carbon network, then collectively you influence again physical, chemical, and biological signatures of the soul that God created. Depends on how you believe. I believe that way. So now I am going to show you one thing, how much more surface area we create if we add, you can put it like a 1 gram of your soil, 1 gram of the humic, or 1 pound of soil with 1 pint of humic. Next slide. Before I do that, under high resolution microscope, this is electron microscope. There is a rod, actually on humic molecule. They're like a rod and they are round, called spheroid. They make random coil conformation, mean they move. I can, Dean kind of alluded to that. They kind of move. We call it actually electrodynamic or electrophoretic mobility. By doing that, good humic like premium 21, constantly it's moving, especially besides some humic when you have some other amino acid that all you can eat buffet, those roots like, then you activate those. As a result, roots are like dispatchers. If they have this carbon network, they tell, oh, canopy, get ready, grow, and be healthy. And the healthy roots, healthy canopy. Now we are going to add 1 gram of, or 1 pound of this humic with 1 pound of soil. Remember, this is nanoparticles, soil is millimeter, 0.002 millimeter. In my thing, I put 0.005. I was given talk in Texas to make it easy for our growers and agronomists. Next slide. Okay, then you can see if they marry, you create more surface area. In the middle, when you see that brownish, that's your soil, really comparing actual particle size, 0.002, with nanoparticle, then you create more space. Again, I say when you make more space, what there are micropores that root, water, nutrient reside. That is dynamics of, before I said I talk about premium 21, premium 6 of our product. Next one, please. You can read this, the BioGrow. I mean, you have it. Generally, we have guarantee analysis. Again, another important thing here, I can put emphasis at pH. That's a natural biosignature. That's what in soil, they did lots. We did lots of study with Amish people. I did, and in German Black Forest we did. When you do have pH like that, you excite lots of soil and plant metabolic activities. You can, Peter can highlight more when he has there. You can read. I'm going to save time for question and answer. Next one, please. And it is again a highly compatible liquid. We talked about it, create a very healthy rhizosphere, and they enhance your fungi, bacteria, protozoa, and kind of when you get good root exudates and all, generally your active fungi, bacteria kind of come very close relation, like a close to 101. So then at that premium 6, in my belief, it's the most innovative biochemistry there that Peter has. And then we call it, winning combo. That's the true. Peter in his probably feedback, he can outline on that one. Other one, please. Next one, please. Okay. Again, we already talked about that, and I want to just save time. Go next one, please. Again, as we said, it enhances chelation, complexation, buffering by creating those micropores. Again, I'm repeating that roots, water, nutrient reside. Again, I remember Dean talked about CEC, cation exchange capacity. Again, some of these, they have a higher cation exchange, especially our premium 6 and all. The more fulvic side they go, you can go over 500 cation exchange capacity. So these are something now we are finding we do have that's why they're performing well. Next one, please. Application rate, you know that. Mixing, you know that. Next one. Storage, you can read that better than I do. I'm trying to save more time for in case you guys have a question. Next one. Okay, now I saved some 10 minutes. I really would like to, any question that Peter and myself, is Bruce there too? If not, we can answer.
I am here.
Okay, both those are expert in applied, and I did some lab work and all. Of course, I worked almost 4 decades on humic, but we would like to answer because those are important part. What you have, what we said, hopefully we'll be able to answer.
Yeah, so any questions for Dr. Muir?
Can you apply to growing crops like alfalfa and perennials? And is there a soil test or plant tissue test that tells you what's going on to see the changes?
Peter, you wanted me to do it?
Yeah,
Bruce,
Sure
Peter,
thing.
you answer?
Absolutely, you can. You have to water it in or band it in, put it in on the fall. We do that. As far as the soil test, we kind of go from basic soil testing methods, do calculation. Mir does a great job of nutrient ratios. We're starting to do some microbial testing, but it's kind of a field that's pretty new in science. And, I think a person could get kind of a picture of what's going on, but not really. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I'm just curious. Like the Haney test or any of those types of things don't make sense. And
We've done some. Mir, you have any input on that?
The only thing we do is another thing we do have now, we are publishing with Israelis. When you give me soil percent sandsill, clay, and some information on base saturation, we can actually calculate exact, I can say with 95% accuracy, tell how much humic you need. We have a different parameter we can calculate and give you. And then if you have a high salt, high magnesium, or compacted soil and all, or high exchangeable sodium, we'll be able to overcome that. If we look at those, if you need it, and actually last week I did few in California.
Yeah, that's a really good point and a better answer to that question. This is Mir has worked with a lot of scientists around the world. And, it was brought up earlier in this presentation about volume. There's a lot of good products out there, but we too are a pounds on the ground mentality. An acre foot of soil is a lot of pounds. And if you want to make a difference, you got to figure out how to get volume. We use the plant to produce volume of biosubstances. But what Mir's talking about is something that you should do, is get a sand, silt, and clay sample of your soil and then identify the clay types. And then Mir can do a calculation to tell you how much humic that you need to, fully take advantage of all the sites on the clay. It's rare, but there's some clays that you're going to need to put on 30 or 40 units of humic acid, to get it all set up. But, until you really test the clay type and you know what you're dealing with. And I've read, thousands of papers on humic and humus. And, Mir's really the first person that, is directly addressing this.
I would add that I've seen results, crop yield, crop health, crop root mass results in 1 year with this application of our products. If you want to see changes in the soil profile, changes in the soil tests, that generally happens in multiple years over time. It's a long-term project to change those things over.
Yeah, thanks for that, Bruce. I don't know if you were introduced to at the beginning, but Bruce is our guy in Wisconsin. He runs our facility there. He'll be supplying you. I do gotta say, yesterday Bruce went in for a major shoulder operation,
Oh.
so I'm pretty amazed to see him there. But he is a ranger, so I guess he's a tough guy. So thanks for showing up, Bruce.
You bet.
Yeah.
Hey, any other questions right now?
Bruce,
Yeah, I have a question. I have a question. If you're using chicken litter and hog manure for organic production, do you suspect that you can lower the rates of that if you're using this Premium 21?
That's a good question. I think you can for the rates. You know, obviously the humic acid molecule will have a a direct effect on holding the ammonia, stabilizing the ammonia. Anytime you can create like an environment for biological activity, you can get more use efficiency from applied compost. So yes, we can. For me to promise that we can put on a few gallons of Premium 21 and just like turn that around. I'm not going to say that. I think, we would like to look a little closer at the soil types, the amount and volume and the treatment, of the compost products, and then help you answer that question.
One more thing, and I can add with Premium 6, that Premium 21 that has Premium 6, generally in the molecule, we do have more oxygen. When you have hog manure, not only you will enhance more, actually Bruce is doing some research on it, we are working, you do more solid reduction, but that oxygen will activate facultative bacteria, mean aerobic and anaerobic, both of them before are mostly anaerobic. By doing that, not only you get more mineralization, when you get more mineralization, that in reality, first, as actually Peter mentioned, ammonia reduction is very high on that. You don't get as much ammonia volatilization. Again, on that, you can ask Bruce, we calculated, I did some lab work for him. We calculated that. But collectively, yes, it will help. Again, depends on how much we calculate, how much. Then we get your BOD, biological oxygen demand, and chemical oxygen demand, and your total solid. We can calculate those again. We do everything hopefully with system approach, not just gassing.
I have a question. Yeah, you answered the foundation of the question that I had, and that is there a difference in application rates of humic substances on sand versus silt loam versus clay? Sounds like there's a difference. Kind of the general consensus seems to be that, oh, you don't need humic substances on clay, they don't work. And I'm thinking that maybe we're just not applying enough.
I have done work for, they call sand dunes in Hawaii, about 4,000 acres. I did grant for 7 years. What you can do in that case is you put in different time interval, silica that most of the sand have. The humic will be able to activate a bacteria that create glutamine and make the silt, which is like a baby powder, with the silica, create better aggregate, but you don't put all one time because you see a low. But we increase that used to be a pasture. Now, after many years, the growers are telling me they are making 520 sacks of potato out there. No, you are right. You need a look at, it works on sandy. Then we look at type of clay you have. Is it Montmorillonite? Is it Eli? Is it vermiculite? Generally an elite type that you have a sandy and all, it will work. But again, we have to watch. Again, we can calculate that for you too. That's what we want to get percent sand, silt, clay, and then we can actually tell what to do, when to apply. Then again, you need for sandy ground apply in different time interval that will enhance that aggregate stability, or we call organomineral complexes, complex that. the humic marry with clay, and after that, it can hold the silica too.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that was a good question. I'd like to give it over because I think we're getting past our time here. Placement is part of that answer though. I think, in furrow or how you put it on, how you approach the addition of humic acid is critical to the success and the return on investment. So, Dean, you better shut us off here or we're going to be going right till noon. I'm just saying. And, Muir's available, if you guys ever want to haul them out in the middle of the winter to Illinois, please do. He was born and raised in a desert in northern Iran. And the more time you spend with Muir, the more you're going to realize he's a pretty special guy. So, we're putting that out there that if you guys all want to organize some more meetings, we can answer more questions.
Yeah, thanks, guys. And so you all know these folks are going to be participating with us at our winter meeting. So we're going to be hearing more time on it, hear more detail at that point as well. So at this point, we're going to move on into talking about some of the products, kind of the product overview, what we're going to have for the coming year, some things that'll stay the same, some things that'll change. And Ken is going to lead the first part of that.
Hey, we're going to jump into some of the product lineup for 2024. Looking at microbial products, we'll still have the Myco seed treat available. That's been a great performer for many years and we'll continue to have that. We've done a little bit with the EcoVam, both a dry soluble that can be put in a liquid in-furrow program or sprayed broadcast, and then also a planter box version that will be available for next year. It was out on a limited basis last year, but it will be more readily available in 2024. Of course, we'll continue to have MVP. It's been our flagship biological product, liquid, very diverse microbial product. It's also one that you can use in any situation, in furrow, 2x2, side dress, foliar, broadcast, post-emerge. So just great all-around product. The MT17, we'll have that as an aid for making the most of manure applications. We've also seen several instances where that, along with manure or other carbons, can dramatically change the soil environment, the soil tilth, and within one growing season. So we're pretty excited about that product too. And then the BioAid is a dry microbial product that's a fit when it's not convenient due to logistics to ship liquids. So those will be the main biological products that we'll work with going forward. And Residuce WS, we've used a lot of that in the fall. Many people use it in the spring simply because they don't have time to get it accomplished in the fall. Harvest runs too late and they just run out of good weather to apply it. And then a new product we had out in limited quantities this fall, Dean alluded to it, Resicycle, that Early Bird made for us. That will replace the Residuce Complete. That's a Residuce product, type product that is meant to put on at 2 pounds per acre, either added to dry fertilizer or solubilized and sprayed on as a liquid. Other microbial products, the Blue N, we've worked with that in the Utrisha N, so we'll have those again next year. We've seen a lot of positive results with that. especially in the right situation. They're not an end all, but they certainly have their place and can be very economically beneficial. And then the rhizobium products for legumes, soybeans, clovers, vetches, dry edible beans. So we've got the Verdesian Ender and the Visjon Exceed. So two different options there. Looking at some of the liquid biological products, we call them biological fertility products. Like Dean said, we want to use products that do minimal damage, so lower salt content and so forth. So we will have a replacement for our 421-4, call it Kickoff. We're excited about that. It's to have a 7-24-4 analysis with zinc, and it's made with potassium acetate. And we've seen very good response with other fertilizers containing potassium acetate. We started with K-Pack several years ago and moved to Agri-K Plus the last 2 years. And we have seen with potassium acetate, it does a superior job of getting potassium into plants. So we're excited about that. It will have a micro pack available with it, which will be new and unique for us. The calcium, magnesium, and iron in that. And I think we see lots of good things when we can get calcium into programs. And I think having it right there in the furrow with the seed will be a real plus. So we're excited about that product. A new product for beside the row, one that would have a little bit higher salt content, will be the side band. That product will replace starter blend that we've had in the past to some degree. The analysis is 723.5 with 0.25% zinc. On its own, it won't have all the other micronutrients, but those could be added to as well as carbon products like the Premium 21 that we just heard about. It would also blend with ATS or ammonium sulfate, products like that. So a lot of flexibility there for using in a 2x2 or other options similar to that. We will continue to have other analysis available for direct shipment, products like 31818, 624.6, just working with different suppliers. And, the supplier that is the best option probably depends on your location, because certainly freight is an issue when you start shipping these over a long distance. So if you have a need for a high quality liquid fertilizer, give us a call, and I think we can find an option that fits for you. And I think we can be pretty price competitive also. Working with Early Bird, they also have suspension grades available. Dan talked about that some, the 824.0 and 310.30. If that's something you think might be a fit, we have that available. And I mentioned Agri-K Plus before. That was new 2 years ago. It's got potassium acetate and a micronutrient package that will replace AgriBoost PK going forward. AgriBoost PK will be discontinued. That's been a good product. But one thing we've seen for certain where our tomato growers have switched from the AgriBoost PK to the Agri-K Plus, they consistently grow larger tomatoes. And that tells us we're doing a better job of getting potassium into the plant. So that product, I think, has a lot of good applications. It should be an excellent foliar product. We've had some good results with it. Foliar application on corn and soybeans and also alfalfa. We will have 0012 available this coming year. That would be a potassium chloride product. And it's about the only potassium that you can mix with calcium. So it's nice to have that option. Trim Cal will be a calcium nitrate based product with humic acid in it as well. That will replace the Practical. We did get some out on a limited basis this fall in residues applications. So we're excited to offer that going forward too. And then for situations where you don't want the humic content, we will have calcium nitrate available to go separate and in blends. That will replace the AgriBoost CA. So it's going to take some coordination. We may not have tanks for it. It may be stored in totes, but we will definitely have calcium nitrate available. Nitrogen and sulfur products will have 32% available. KTS, potassium thiosulfate, that's been a great product for stream applications and side dress with 25% potassium and 17% sulfur. That will be available to go in blends from Early Bird. And we can also line up really good pricing shipped directly from the plant in either Terre Haute or Waterloo, Iowa. ATS also will be available in truckload quantities, again from Terre Haute or Waterloo. And then Early Bird has worked for years with the AMS liquid product. 8% nitrogen, 9% sulfur. So that will be the main sulfur source going into a lot of our fertilizer blends next year. So we'll need to jar test things, just, make sure it's compatible with what else you want to use. That is also a good product as a water treatment for pesticide applications. No, Dan has a lot of experience with that, but that's commonly used in the industry. So that's something new that we have to offer, would be a liquid AMS for that purpose. And then, we just heard a lot about the Premium 21 and all it brings to the table with the humic content, the organic acids and plant extracts. That product will replace biohumus and activator for us. And it has a 4% humic acid content. I've got rates here. May stand to be corrected by Peter or Muir or Bruce, but half a gallon in furrow, 1 gallon in a 2x2, 1 to 2 gallon side dress, and 1 to 4 quarts foliar. So those are kind of starting rates we'll be working with, and we may fine tune that as we go forward. Again, as we heard, if we have more specification on your soil types, the sand, silt, and clay, we may want to change application rates. We will have molasses available. Corn syrup will be available in containers with advance notice. So if you're going to want corn syrup, we need to get that taken care of before we get into the heart of the spring season and get that shipped ahead of time. Micronutrients will continue to have boron, copper, iron, manganese, and zinc available, both separate and in combination or going in blends. With that, I'll turn it over to Gary.
So the organic side of things, with our blends that we've done for many years, of course, we've used a number of organic products that have the ability to both make standard blends and make custom blends with a lot of these things. Going forward, we're going to try to keep it as kind of simple as possible, streamlined as much as we can, just on ease of blending and then loading trucks and keeping things moving. So we're going to have a kind of a family of a couple of products. The base, what had in the past has been called KT Ad Pack, but kind of a base blend that will start all of our other custom blends or mixes with, is now going to be called KS Carb. And yeah, that replaces the KT Ad Pack, but it's essentially a blend of the K sulfate as the main component, then some zinc in there, having carbon sources, including the Premium 21, which is organic, a kelp source, kind of all those little goodies that instead of each time doing a custom blend and putting 6 different ingredients in together, those will be already all blended together in a one of the big tanks that Dan has. So we can kind of start with that as our base for organic things that we blend together. Then the next step, where we've had PKT blend in the past, that's now going to be called Starter O, and that's basically taking the base and adding fish to it. And then there's a third step, and that's what we're going to call Complete O, and that will replace Pillar, Premium Blend, Honey Those Base Mix, some things like that we've done in the past. And essentially it's taking the base, adding fish, adding Chilean nitrate, adding all the other micronutrients to it, like your boron, copper, manganese, as well as the zinc that's already in there. And that is something that we'll have available in cases or containers for smaller growers, where it's the kind of the standard, organic blend, just like we've done with Pillar over the years, where it's got a little bit of everything in there. We'll still have liquid K sulfate solution. And that's going to be in large quantity, where we typically can do a lot of different things with that, blending with other products. We'll have Early Bird's Chilean nitrate, and that's a OMRI listed 5.5%. The beauty of this is that it is OMRI listed. They've gone through all those hoops. So in the past, where we have not been able to ship a Chilean nitrate or a nitrogen organic product that's over 3% without it being OMRI listed and inspected and all that stuff, they've done that, so we can sell it as the concentrated 5.5% liquid Chilean nitrate. The 202 that we've done in the past, we no longer need to do that as a specific product, because we can now blend the 5.5 with the K sulfate and make just about any ratio of those two that you would want as a blend. We'll still have N-Force, that's the amino nitrogen product that's listed as an 8%, both hopefully in blends as well as direct shipping from where it's manufactured at. Our folks with Bayshore that we've done for many years, a particular foliar combination for them called Bayshore Foliar. We want to relabel that, rename it as BSF 24. And then it's going to be available to all of our other dealers as well. The neat thing about it is that it does not have Chilean nitrate in it. And then the blend that we've done there for years, it just really stays together real nice and seems to handle real nice. So we want to try to continue that kind of a thing. It's great with legumes like soybeans, dry beans, alfalfa, different stuff like that, because it doesn't have the Chilean nitrate, or places where your customer is selling to markets that does not allow Chilean nitrate. So we would like to do more of that, make that more widespread, because it's been worked well. And as in the past, we can still do custom blends, but hopefully starting as much as possible with that KS carb base, and then adding the other ingredients, components from there. So that simplifies greatly the number of specific things that have to be blended together when you do a custom mix, if we've got that base to start with and can just add a couple of items to that. On the fish side, of course, Dram-O will be on hand and shipping out in bulk, as well as we can handle it direct. Also exploring working with a product by Schaefer Fish. That's a 6.5% nitrogen, and unknown yet as to what kind of quantities or a lot of the details on that, but we're checking that out. Of course, Dram-1, Dram-E, 5N, the other versions of Dram fish will all be available to ship direct from Dram. We are not going to have the tank capacity to have, you know, all these different versions on hand at Early Bird, but especially with advance notice, we can work it out to get it shipped direct from Dram. Dram is no longer making the sulfur version of the fish, but we are working on having another sulfur fish option available, because we know it has a certain fit at times when you do blends and you don't want the phosphorus in there. Then the sulfur fish works a whole lot better. Also looking at a product that can be a 2-2-1 analysis. The CSL, that kind of stands for corn steep liquor. A combination of that with some other components to make a blend that has a 2% nitrogen, 2% phosphorus, 1% potassium analysis. So we're trying to just look at some other options, other fits that people need to fit different situations there. On the fulvic and humic side, Early Bird has carried a product called Connector O that's OMRI listed fulvic acid in cases. So that will replace the old fulvic O. In the past, we've been reluctant to ship or sell the fulvic O separately, always using it in blends. But now with this product, it is, of course, OMRI listed, labeled. There's a particular analysis of the fulvic guaranteed, all that good stuff. So it's available as a separate product. As we've been talking, the Premium 21 we will have on hand and look to use that in a lot of organic blends. It is OMRI listed. It's going to be in the blends like our CS or KS carb, that's the base mix. So we want to incorporate that into just a lot of the organic blends that we're doing, and we'll work to do that moving forward. So that will replace the biohumus. Also Premium 6, Premium 12, which are more straight humic acids. We've done a little bit of work with those, and we can ship those straight out of Bruce's location up in Wisconsin, as well as do containers of those. We also have molasses, as Ken mentioned, both for blending or out of Early Bird, but then also truckloads, bulk direct. We have multiple sources we can work with on molasses. The micronutrients for organics, zinc L, manganese L, copper L, boron O. We intend to, at least we're working on keeping those same names, and be a very similar product to what you've had in the past, just will be labeled as Agri Energy Solutions with a new label. In general, with all these organic products, there's going to be a process of working with the certifiers and having new labels for all these things. So we'll stress it multiple times here, but we really got to work with farmers to get those labels submitted to their certifiers ahead and realize that they are new labels and it's not the same one they've used for maybe 10 years now, but they'll need to get that approved by their certifier. We can't stress that enough this coming year, that people have to get approval ahead of time. That would be very important. The Biomin amino acid chelates will still be available. We have those in stock, Calboro, straight calcium, zinc, manganese, copper, and a moly too. There's been increased interest in the moly product the last couple of years, so doing more with that. Caliber, which is an organic calcium product that we've had that's made for soil application. That's something we're still working on, what the new version of that is going to be. but we got some ideas. We just got to work it out yet. Now moving to the pesticides, of which, of course, many of these that we've done over the years are organic, but then a few things that are not. So this is kind of the roster of the things we've been working with. The backstops, the F400s, of course, Companion is available from Douglas, DPH, BioRepel, Neem, different things like that. Also want to mention adjuvants. We've worked a lot with OroBoost as something to almost always want to see put in with our pesticides, but then done a lot more, and we'll show a couple examples of this, of OroRZ, which is a similar sister product to OroBoost, but it's made for soil application. And we've seen some neat things from that. So we'll talk about that a little more in a minute here. But I do want to mention two new items we're going to have, and those are called Neovo and PaceSetter. And these are products that Dan and Early Bird have been working with and have some experience with. So I want to ask Dan if you'll take a minute just to explain those. And I think, Dan, you can unmute yourself. And I've got a slide here each for Neovo and the PaceSetter. And Dan, go ahead and explain what you've been seeing with this.
So we've had a really good relationship with Marone Biosciences, and Neovo is an in-furrow insecticide that we are extremely pleased with. We've been using it for 3 years now. Neovo is the new form. It's a more concentrated version of the Magistine that we've been using for the last 3 years at 1 gallon per acre. Neovo will deliver the same amount of active ingredient at 20 ounces per acre. In our organic corn production, we've created a green bridge for pests because of the use of cover crops, or green manures, I guess is a better word for them. And we've really struggled with cutworms in particular. Of course, always corn rootworms are going to be an issue in our area, wireworms, some of those other things. So we've had very good success with in-furrow applications of 1 gallon of Magistine, which going forward will only be 20 ounces of Neovo. We love putting it with a starter blend. So if you want to, whether it's a humic or a other in-furrow sugar, molasses type products, micronutrients, you can add this product with it, applied in furrow. We've had excellent results. Had a cutworm outbreak last year in some of our organic corn production, and to the row could tell exactly where the insecticide was applied in furrow. So really a game changer for us. We think it's going to be a game changer for us going forward. It has nematode activity also. So even on some conventional acres where we think soybean cyst nematode is a huge issue, we're going to be looking at using it there too. So the next product is PaceSetter. Again, a Marone product. This is a biological fungicide. We use this on almost every acre of conventional and organic soybeans in our area and corn. PaceSetter, we've found excellent results on controlling white mold with 2 applications. One at herbicide timing, or R1, and then another one followed up at R3 to R4. We've just found when we don't apply PaceSetter, probably can find some white mold in the field. And when we have PaceSetter in the program, we think it's a very good white mold product. We pair it with a generic fungicides on our conventional acres. So it'll be PaceSetter at 6 ounces per acre, paired with a generic tebuconazole or azoxystrobin, something like that on the conventional. And then if we go organic, we move the rate up to 13 ounces per acre. So really good products. 2 of them are excellent. We've had outstanding results with both. We've got data to back it up and some personal experience over many acres. So we're excited about these options.
Okay, thanks, Dan. Stop for a minute and ask if there's any particular questions right now about the products part that we were showing. Of course, please talk to us individually, about particular questions, and we can help walk you through it in that. And you'll be hearing a lot more about these names of the products and stuff coming up as we get the labels put together and start sharing those and all that good stuff. But are there any particular questions we can answer quick? All right, so at this now? Yep. Or okay. We got just a couple more things to share with you guys. First, some kind of odds and ends business type things, and then we got a few other test plot results that some of our dealers have shared with us. So just a few more things, and then we'll wrap it up before long here. Gotta get our PowerPoint was froze up. Well, that's interesting. Okay. Oh, there, now we go. Yeah, another reminder, we last year started with the Pacer products and had a number of guys trying those, and we will continue to carry those as if you have guys that were using it and hear kind of results from that or observations that they had, please share those with us. We would love to hear about how that's going. One thing to note, the product that's been called Rumacell, which is a non-organic product that they're used to feeding to livestock. That's the name now has been changed to Excel because it kind of applies to all livestock, not just ruminants. So one thing to note there. So now we got just a few other business type things to share, and I'll turn it over to Linda here.
Thanks, Gary. Yeah, as Gary and Ken had alluded to, that we have a lot of new products and a lot of name changes. So therefore, we're going to have to do some registration, state registration to transfer those over into our name. So if you guys could help us out, we'll start working on those state registrations shortly here and continue on and try to get them into the states, the products that we've had them in the states before. But we will need your help. So if you know a product that you're going to be using and it needs to be registered, please let us know. Also, we talked about organic certification. Gary alluded to this a little bit, that we must get product approved ahead of time. Your customers need to get that done. We can't stress that enough. And also let us know who their certifier is so that we can work with them directly to get the information to them. So we'll send all the product information to the certifier on your behalf, once you request that. Also, we have pre-approved by PCL. We will get all the products approved by them. Once they accept that, then we'll have a letter stating that and be able to get that to your certifier, and hopefully that will speed up the process for you. And then, of course, watch for the new labels on our website. We'll have those on there as we get them done, as we get the labels done.
Yeah, package products, as we're switching our locations here and how it's all going to work together, we're going to be working with one of our dealers to actually fill cases for us, and then we're going to have that on hand and a limited amount. We're still working all that out, so be patient with us this winter as we figure all those things out. But one thing that's going to be important is to know farther ahead what case quantities you are going to need. And if you have the ability to store some of these things yourself, order in the spring, order what you think or you've sold in the past or what you have orders for, get it ahead, and then keep it on hand at your place. That will greatly help us out. We just no longer have the ability to have a big warehouse where we can have 10 cases of 50 different things sitting there ready to go. So we'll have to have some advance notice and work with you on just how we make that all happen. But we will continue to find a way to to make that work. We're no longer going to be filling drums except for certain products, which we can get straight from the manufacturer, like in the drum, or ship that straight to you. And reality is, as the cost of plastics and containers have gone up, there's really not much advantage cost-wise to doing drums over just cases. And so many folks anymore just don't want to handle drums. It's a lot easier to handle a 2.5s in a box with handles on it, or larger things, totes and bulk and so on. So we're going to be really reducing our use of drums here going forward. We have some ability to put cases and boxes on bulk trucks down at Early Bird. We're working out how we're going to have some of our most commonly shipped products on hand down there. Things like MST, where that can go on a truck, on the bulk truck, and go with it. Also, some of the products that Early Bird already handles, things like Oro Boost and the Connector O that we mentioned, stuff like that they'll have in stock. We can put those on trucks, but that's going to be kind of limited and a work in progress as we get going. So be patient with us there. And again, the more things that you can order ahead and ship ahead of those container type products, that will make the spring go that much smoother and that much faster. As far as shipping goes, we have 6 multi-compartment trailers that we own, AgriEnergy owns, and they will be stationed down at Early Bird through the spring and in summer through the shipping season, so we can have access to them right there on hand. We also are working with a couple of our trucking firms that have access to one-hole trailers. So if it's a single product that's a full load, we can use those to add to our shipping capabilities. And then we're always looking for more truckers. So if you know of guys that have a tractor that are, I don't know, how shall we say, customer friendly and good to work with, please send them our way, and we'll be glad to talk to them and see if they have a fit for whether it's limited action or all spring. We take all shapes and sizes, whatever we can do to keep things on the road and keep them moving. LTLs, shipping totes, pallets. We work with a dispatcher that handles XPO, as you guys have experienced. Also working to set up with FedEx here before next spring so that we can truck stuff through FedEx freight. And that option, also there may be some options through Early Bird, as Dan mentioned, the LTL shipping they do, where we can, the more options we have to find the least cost way of getting it to you, we will work to do that. Individual boxes we can do through FedEx, whether it's from our location or straight from a manufacturer, wherever it's coming from, we can set that up. And then shipping truckloads, totes, pallets, whatever it may be, from the manufacturer direct to you or to the customer, we have options on how to do that. So, and as always, if you have a way to do it and it saves you money, come and get it. We're more than happy to let you arrange the trucking or let your customer arrange it. And we'll work with you or that person to facilitate them coming in and picking things up. Anything we can do to expand the number of options and have guys get product for the least cost possible, that's always a plus for everybody. And back to Linda on money.
Yeah, so we have 7 different payment options, and hopefully this will help keep accounts current. We've always had our prepay, and we're going to do that again this year with the 4% by December 31st. And 3% by June 31st and 2% by February 29th. With that prepay, that does not include freight, commodities, or special offers that are not included in that. And with the commodities, we would like to see a prepaid before we order that, before it's ordered. So we'd like to have that taken care of before. And cash is always good. We give you net 30 days on that. After the 30 days, if it's not paid, we do have a finance charge on there. that fee finance charge will increase from, we charge 1.25% now. We're increasing it to 1.5% starting January 1st. We do also accept credit cards payments, but we do charge a fee of that of 3.5% because that's what the card charges us to do that. New thing that we've done, we started last year a little bit. We've added different plan options to John Deere Finance. This is, where we can bill, we can send the customer invoice to John Deere for payment, and that way you get that, receive that payment fast. It's like with a few days you would have your payment, or we can do this two different ways. One way is for you guys to go ahead and apply for a John Deere merchant account, just like we have. That way you would bill your customers to John Deere account, and then pay us. The other way is that Agri Energy will bill your customer to John Deere account, and then we'd have to pay you. There'd be a few things involved in that. One, there could be a fee to you guys for us doing that. And the other thing is we'd have to have you guys have the customer sign a document saying they want it done through John Deere. The other is that we'd need something from you guys showing what your price would be so we could bill it fully, the full amount to John Deere, to their account. And then we'd have to, like we said, we'd have to pay you guys the difference. We're looking at two different options right now. We looked at a fixed 5% APR with 10 monthly payments. So the 5% the customer would pay, and they'd make monthly payments. That'd be principal and interest payments that they would have to make. The other option that we have chosen is that it'd just be a prime APR. So prime right now currently is at 8.5%. So that's what they would pay. This would not be due until December of 2024. Of course, the prime would adjust as prime rates change. So if the rates go up, that the rate will, go up to that. So if it goes up to 9%, if it goes down, then you would get the lower rate. That would have interest on it throughout the whole time. So those are the two options that we're looking at to do. We think it would help you guys get paid faster, us to get paid faster. If you guys want to look at you guys being a merchant, I'd be happy to, do what I can to help you guys get in touch with John Deere to do that.
Yeah, just to show you, we're planning to be at a number of meetings, conferences, shows this winter. As you're thinking about doing something in your area, please talk to us so we can help you out however we may. If there's other shows you're looking at doing, we can help you with, if not being there in person, we can help send you a banner or literature, things that you need. Just talk to us about that. So a lot of things coming up, and looking forward to using these conferences and meetings and things to reach new people. Our big meetings that we've called seminars in the past, we're planning to have two of them. One on Tuesday, January 16th in Richmond, Indiana at the Holiday Inn there. And then the second one, Thursday, January 18th in Eureka. And that's just, about 6 miles down the road from Early Bird. And Dan and his team, maybe they don't know it all yet, but Dan has volunteered them to take care of the lunch. We understand Dan's pretty good with the cooker in that, so we're going to take him up on that offer. And so at the very least, you got to come just for lunch, right? So, and then also hopefully have an optional tour of Early Bird, be able to chance to go down there and see it for yourself after the meeting is over on that Thursday. So we will have more info out real soon through groundwork and things on who our speakers are and topics, and more details about that you can then share with your customers here real soon. Got just a couple of examples of plots that have come into us that we want to share quick, and then we will wrap up. This is one of John Daniels' plots in Northeast Ohio, where he's done these for years with organic starters. So that's got MVP in it. It's got the KT Ad Pack and fish, which would be very similar to a PKT blend type approach. And these fields had plenty of manure on them. They had MST on all the seed. These guys do a super job with their crops, and still we're getting a good response from the starter. So 13.7 bushel here, 200 plus bushel organic corn. And even you can see the moisture was just a hair less at 20.5 versus 20.8. Also alongside of this plot, he did a plot with Nutritia, with and without. And this is on, I believe the numbers I'm showing are on top before he did the starter. But there he got a 5.3 bushel increase from foliar feeding the Nutritia. And interesting that too was a little bit drier in moisture. So it probably matured more properly. There's more details about these we can share. Just want to highlight a couple of things here. And this is another plot that John Daniel worked with in the same area took it as corn silage. And there with the starter, we got about a 2-ton increase in yield of the silage, but then also better components. So the milk increase shows like plus 2,600 pounds increased milk per acre. Also in the same plot, they had the grower had somebody give them another fish product, and they tried that as opposed to our starter, and there wasn't a whole lot of difference between that and none at all. So we shined there and showed real good results. Monty, if you are on and want to unmute, we'll let you tell this story down in your neck of the woods, down in Texas.
Yeah, working with City of Cactus, they have a farm to dispose of wastewater. Most of their wastewater comes from a meat packing plant, so it is they have been certified organic in the past. They let that go due to their certifiers not understanding what they were trying to do. But anyway, they've had a lot of issues, been unable to grow crops basically due to salts, due to high potassium soils, high pH in the region. There is a magnesium layer that varies in depth. These two fields are separated by a driveway. They've been treated pretty much the same for a number of years. The untreated field, as you can see, it had approximately 2 inches of irrigation water 2 weeks ago when I took those pictures. I took the pictures, I guess, last week, but 2 weeks ago it had a couple inches of irrigation water. The treated field had only about a half inch of irrigation water due to miscommunication with the guy operating the sprinklers and the manager. But as you can see, a whole lot of soil flocculation. As we were talking earlier about pore space and different things there, we can just see the difference. We used the Oro RZ Gary alluded to earlier. I think that is a key component, along with lots of biology. We're just making these soils work again. It's been really, really interesting, and the farm manager and their custom operators are very impressed with what we've been able to do in a short amount of time. They started working with us about a year ago. This field had myco-seed treat at planting last fall for a triticale crop, and this spring we did a complete micro package and some biology at Green Up in March, applied with the sprayer with some Oro RZ, and then they applied 10 gallons of MT17 following triticale harvest, and right after sorghum planting to try and help with weeds. And it worked. Next slide, if you can, Gary. We have another one. Yeah, look, the root exudates there kind of speak for themselves. That's volunteer triticale that they just tilled up to plant another triticale crop. The picture on the left, that field had just had approximately 11 hundredths of irrigation water applied that day when I took that picture. There is a touch of ponding in kind of the middle of the picture. You can see that's due to a sprinkler malfunction. They were trying to get some water put out ahead of a freeze. They didn't fix a couple of broken drops. But anyway, a tenth of an inch of water basically. And walking across that, we still left tracks in the field across the driveway that's had none of our products, none of our treatments, none of our attention, basically had a couple inches of irrigation water within a week prior to the pictures. And you couldn't tell that it had been watered. Very dry, very hard soil. This treated field, you can see a lot of porosity, a lot of tilth, excellent root exudates on the volunteer. They just planted that triticale the day before I took those pictures. So it'll be interesting to go back in a few days and see how it's emerging. But very, very, very interesting stuff. Our stuff works. We just have to apply it at the correct rate and at the correct time.
Hey, thanks, Monty. I think that's really interesting where you had two applications of biology, one in the spring and then again the big shot of MT17 in the summer. So you impacted it with biology at two different times and had the RZ in there both times, where there's more to that. We got to learn more about using the RZ and how to best make that work.
We're definitely seeing benefits. We're seeing again the improved tilth. They should have soil tests back on that anytime now, that we can compare last year's soil test, from a year ago to now. I think we're going to see some really big differences, and I really think we're breaking that magnesium layer that's underneath that soil. Need to find a backhoe to dig a soil pit and see what's really going on, but definitely working.
Right. Thanks, Monty. So the last couple of slides, these are stuff, yield numbers that Derek Davis down in Missouri just sent to us the other day. Ken, I'll let you share these. And then Derek, if you're able to speak to it, you can add to that if you want.
This is kind of an inadvertent test plot where he forgot to turn the starter on. His in-furrow program on the corn was 2 gallons of N-Force, a gallon of MVP, be a gallon and a half of K-sulfate and a half a gallon of molasses, a quart of zinc, and a pint of Oro-RZ. And so that combination you see is giving him a 26.5 bushel increase. Pretty significant. And here we have soybeans with Blue N. He got a 3.1 bushel increase. And then when he added the K-sulfate and molasses to that, it was 14.8 bushels. So that whole combination really gave a nice increase. So it seems like, putting some plant nutrition besides the Blue N, we're getting a lot more response than Blue N alone. And this next slide, got a comparison using residues on soybeans, seeing a 10.6 bushel increase. Then if you take the in-furrow out, goes backwards 14 bushels from adding residues to the program. So the fertilizer program plus residues, but no in-furrow, was minus 14 bushels. And his in-furrow on the soybeans was 2 gallons of MVP, a gallon and a half of K-sulfate, and a half a gallon of molasses, a quart of zinc, and a pint of ORZ. So pretty similar to the corn. So big response both from the in-furrow and from residues.
Okay, so that's what we have to share. Dean, did you want to wrap up?
As we started, yeah, please give us some feedback. If you like this method of trying to share information this year, particularly, we've got to get a lot of information out. So we need to get in contact with as many people as possible. So just a quick summary, the early bird folks, hope you catch our enthusiasm with Dan and his group. Thought it's interesting. They're sending feed into 27 different states. That kind of sounds a little bit like us on our spread over the years. Their core beliefs are so consistent with what we've talked about, the banding, the streaming, promoting starters. They talk about soil life. We're just excited about working together with them. As I shared that we were glad that we didn't make a quicker move and spend a lot of money. And Dan showed the picture of those 6 30,000 gallon tanks that they're going to dedicate to us. And just think how remarkable that is. They've got 180,000 gallons of storage that he's going to quit doing what they've been doing in order to help us do what we need to do. So we're excited about that opportunity. The BioGrow folks, we had Peter on, we had Bruce Anderson from Wisconsin, Dr. Meir. Again, I hope you caught a flavor of their brilliance. They're scientists. They've done a lot of experimenting over the years. The science of humics, they're really good at. So we're excited about that opportunity. The opportunity that Dr. Meir talked about, actually being able to calculate how much humic you may need in order to really get a response, that kind of science enthuses us as well. Thank you to Alex and DPH for sharing what they're doing and where they're coming from, so we all better understand. And to all the dealers, if we didn't touch on your favorite product that Gary and Ken was talking about, please talk to us. Make sure that we aren't missing something. We think we're covering all the bases, but we're going to have a lot less volume of tanks than we've had in the past. But we think we're getting it figured out so that we'll cover all the bases that we need to. So with that, do you have time to try and take some questions, or we're going to have to close it down?
We can certainly, anybody that has questions, we can hang around here for a few minutes and answer those. And then those that need to get on to other parts of the day, thank you for joining us and taking the morning to spend with us. And hopefully we'll see you at the winter meetings and at shows and different places around the area. Any way we can help you out this winter, please let us know. So thanks a lot, everybody, for being part of it. And yeah, if there are questions, we can hang around here and certainly answer those.
This is Galen. Just had one little question, and I think I know the answer, but I don't think it was touched on. And that is, at Early Bird, will there be any capability of mixing, for example,
Okay, go ahead, Galen. Try that again.
Okay, this is Galen. Yeah, sorry about that. So using a fair amount of organic products, and then a lot of my customers wanting a blend. I don't think it was touched upon, but is there capability at Early Bird to, when they fill the tankers, to bring, let's say I want the 202, for example, that mixture of the Chilean nitrate and the K-sulfate or is that not going to be an option? Maybe I missed it, but I didn't hear that.
So we aren't gonna label 202 as a product anymore, but there'll be the K-sulfate and then Early Bird's 5.5% Chilean nitrate solution that we can blend together basically in any ratio, any combination that you need.
Yep.
So if you want to still make a 202, that can be done, or it can be a 301 or a 103 or, you know,
Better yet.
Well, whatever ratio that you really want, basically. So
I and if you had covered that, I apologize, but I just wanted to clear that in my mind. Thank you for that.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll just be able to blend whatever you need out of the tanks that we have dedicated, along with the tanks that we have for our own business too. So there'll be a nice crossover where we can utilize that whole tank farm there. Things that we've already got in there, things that we'll add specifically for agri energy, and be able to blend whatever combination you want. Mix it in the tank there and send it on its way.
Thank you, Dan. One other little question, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. There was a product that we used. I didn't see it on the list called Cedar Guard. Is that available anymore, Gary or Ken?
So as of last winter, we couldn't get the Cedar Guard anymore. And we talked to the manufacturer and they were having, I don't know, trouble associating the ingredients or something. So then throughout the spring, I kept looking and just couldn't find an organic certified cedar product anywhere. So we'll have to look at that again this winter, but I don't know, it seems to have disappeared. I don't know what the issue was, but
COVID supposedly messed that up, but I don't understand.
yeah. Because the cedar
Okay.
oil comes from, I don't know if it was India or the Far East or where it was coming from, but
Hey, Gary.
yeah, Reg.
Yeah. Say, they get it. Originally, they got the ingredients from Texas, and that ran out. I don't know if they're going to have it this year, but they just got it from Texas. There was a problem with the dry weather.
Yeah, and the Cedar Guard we were using to as a pheromone disruptor on mainly beetles and that kind of thing. So I mean, throughout this year we were using other options to do that, whether it's Ecotect or Neem or just anything that would have some effectiveness against the beetles. So I think we managed to handle it with other options this past year. But we'll keep looking at that, definitely.
Gary, this is David with Galen. I'm looking for it I think there'd be a market for it in this area for horse barns to spray it interior of the barn for flies probably, but then it has a nice cedar aroma to it. Some people use cedar bedding for that purpose, and this would be great to use in those situations. It wouldn't have to be organic in that situation.
I know, some folks used to use it as like a cattle oiler and stuff like that. But we had some people using the BioRepel, the garlic, for that same purpose this year. But like you say, that wouldn't have quite the same aroma as as the cedar. So but,
Thanks,
good
guys.
point. Yep, thank you. Any other questions? Not, sounds like that'll do it. So thanks again, everybody.
Thank you.
Let's see. And the